Did you know that the gold ring you might be wearing, or the golden jewelry tucked away in your drawer, isn't actually gold in color? If we were to take that ring and crush it down, smaller than sand, smaller than dust, until it was just a few atoms wide, it would suddenly stop being gold. It would turn a deep, mesmerizing ruby red, or perhaps a vibrant royal purple. And have you ever considered that the glass of water sitting on your nightstand is not truly a solid object? It is merely a liquid that has forgotten how to flow, paused in time, waiting for a century to pass so it can move just one single millimeter. What if the world you see around you, the solid walls, the soft sheets, the ceiling above, is mostly empty space, held together by nothing but invisible forces and silent vibrations? Hello, and welcome to Somnus Sleepy Science. Tonight, we are going to shrink down. We are going to leave the noisy, macroscopic world of big things, of cars and buildings and deadlines, and we are going to drift down into the hush of the Nanoverse. This is a world where the laws of physics, as you know them, begin to melt away, replaced by magic, by probability, and by a quietude so profound it wraps around you like a heavy, velvet blanket. There is no need to try to understand the math tonight. There is no test tomorrow. There is only the soft hum of atoms and the gentle curiosity of your own resting mind. So, please, find that comfortable position you've been looking for. Let your head sink deeper into the pillow, as if the pillow itself is made of soft, supportive clouds. Unclench your jaw. Let your tongue rest gently on the roof of your mouth. Let your shoulders drop away from your ears, releasing the weight of the day. Close your eyes, and let's begin our descent into the invisible dot to understand the world of nanotechnology. We must first understand how deceiving our eyes can be. We trust our eyes to tell us the truth about reality, but in the realm of the very small, reality is a shapeshifter. Let us start with a story of ancient magic, a mystery that puzzled humanity for over 1,600 years. Imagine you are walking into a grand, dimly lit museum. The air is cool and still, smelling faintly of old paper and stone. In the center of a glass case, sitting in the silence, is a chalice. It is called the Lycurgus cup. It was made by Roman craftsmen in the 4th century, a time long before microscopes or laboratories. When you look at this cup from the front, with the light shining on it, it appears an opaque, earthy pea green. It looks solid, heavy, and grounded. But now, imagine you light a small, warm candle and place it inside the cup. As the light tries to pass through the glass from behind, a transformation occurs. The green vanishes. The cup suddenly glows with a translucent, fiery red intensity, like a dying ember or a majestic sunset trapped in glass. For centuries, no one knew how this was possible. It was thought to be sorcery. It wasn't until the modern era that we looked at this cup under the most powerful microscopes in existence, and we found the secret. The Roman artisans, perhaps by accident, or perhaps by some lost intuition, had ground gold and silver down into nanoparticles, specks of dust so small they are 50 nanometers in diameter. That is 1,000 times thinner than a human hair. At this size, gold is no longer gold. It becomes a quantum chameleon. You see, when a piece of gold is large enough to hold in your hand, the electrons, those tiny sparks of energy dancing around the atoms, move in a chaotic crowd, reflecting light in a way that looks yellow to our eyes. But when you trap those electrons in a tiny, nano-sized cage, they are forced to move in a rhythm. They begin to oscillate, swinging back and forth in perfect unison. Like a microscopic swing set, this rhythmic dance absorbs the blue and green light and lets only the warm, red light pass through to your eyes. It is a phenomenon called surface plasmon resonance, but we can just call it the heartbeat of the metal. Imagine that for a moment. The gold is not static. Even now, in the stillness of that ancient cup, billions of electrons are swaying together in a silent, synchronized waltz, turning the light into color. It is a peaceful thought, isn't it? That beneath the surface of hard, cold metal, there is a rhythmic, flowing dance that never stops. A lullaby of light occurring at a scale we can barely comprehend. Take a deep breath in, filling your lungs with the cool night air, and exhale slowly, imagining that you are shrinking down, 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 past the size of a grain of sand, past the size of a dust mite, entering this world where gold turns to ruby and silver turns to yellow dot. As we float here in this microscopic space, we need to understand the scale of where we are. It is hard to visualize a nanometer because it is so incredibly small. But there is a clock ticking right now on your own body that measures this distance perfectly. Focus your attention on your fingernails. They feel hard, still, and unchanging, but they are growing. Right now, as you lie there in the dark, your fingernails are growing at the speed of approximately 1 nanometer per second. Let's try to feel that rhythm. 1 second passes. Your fingernail has grown 1 nanometer. Another second. Another nanometer. Another second. Another nanometer. It is a pace so slow, so leisurely, that it is almost indistinguishable from stillness. In the rush of our daily lives, we forget that nature often moves at this speed, the speed of a nanometer. It is the speed of patience. It is the speed of sleep. If you were a nanobot, a tiny robot the size of a standing on the cuticle of your thumb, looking out at the edge of your nail would be like looking at a mountain range moving towards you, but moving so slowly that you could sit down, have a cup of tea, watch the seasons change, and barely notice the shift. This is the pacing of the universe at its most fundamental level. It is not in a hurry. The atoms that make up your sheets, the molecules that make up the air you breathe, they are all vibrating, yes, but the structures they build evolve with a majestic slowness. Now, let your mind wander from your hand to the glass of water you might have sitting by your bedside, or perhaps imagine a window pane in an old, quiet house. Glass is a strange resident of the nano world. To our eyes, it is a solid. You can tap on it. Tap, tap, tap. It makes a crisp sound. It stops the wind. It holds the water. But scientifically, glass is often described as an amorphous solid, unlike the metal in the cup we talked about, whose atoms are lined up in perfect, military rows like soldiers. The atoms in glass are disorganized. They are frozen in chaos, stopped mid, like a snapshot of a crowd of people bustling through a train station, who suddenly froze when a camera shutter clicked because of this lack of order. There is a theory, a lovely, sleepy myth of science. That glass is actually a liquid that flows incredibly slowly. While modern physicists debate the exact time frame, the image it paints is one of profound relaxation. Imagine that the window pane is actually a waterfall, but a waterfall that has been slowed down by millions of years. It is flowing downwards, surrendering to gravity, but at a pace so glacial that a human lifetime is too short to see the drip dot everything around you. Even the things that seem hardest and most unyielding are actually soft at the heart. They are all flowing, vibrating, and changing. the tension you feel in your muscles. It is just atoms that are wound a little tight. You can ask them to release. You can ask your own biology to mimic the flow of the glass. Visualize the muscles in your neck. They might feel like solid knots, but zoom in. Zoom way down to the nanoscale. Those muscles are made of actin and myosin filaments, tiny, thread-like proteins. They are not a solid block. They are millions of tiny fibers sliding past each other. When you relax, you are simply allowing those filaments to uncouple, to slide apart, to float freely in the cellular fluid. Allow that sliding to happen now. Let the filaments in your neck lengthen. Let the fibers in your back uncoil. You are becoming amorphous. You are becoming like the glass, sturdy enough to rest, but fluid enough to let go of the shape of the day. As we drift deeper into this realm, we encounter the strange rules of quantum mechanics. In our big world, if you walk into a wall, you bump your nose. Solid hits solid. But down here, in the Nanoverse, solid is just a suggestion. If you make a particle small enough, it stops behaving like a hard marble and starts behaving like a wave, like a ripple in a pond. This is where the magic of quantum tunneling comes in. Imagine a ball rolling up a hill. If the ball doesn't have enough speed, it rolls back down. It cannot get over the hill. That is the rule of our world. But an electron, a tiny nano, if it encounters a hill or a barrier, it doesn't have to climb over it. It can simply vanish. It dissolves on one side of the barrier and instantly rematerializes on the other side. It tunnels through the wall as if the wall wasn't even there. It's like a ghost passing through a closed door. Think about the sun for a moment. The sun that warms your face in the morning. The sun shines because of fusion, smashing atoms together to create light. But scientifically, the sun isn't actually hot enough to force those atoms together on its own. It shouldn't work. The only reason the sun shines, the only reason we have light, the only reason life exists, is because the protons in the sun are using this quantum trick. They are borrowing energy from nowhere, tunneling through the impossible barriers, and fusing together. The entire universe is powered by tiny particles cheating the rules of solidity. This means that the boundaries you feel, the boundary between you and the bed, the boundary between awake and asleep, are not as thick as you think. They are porous. You don't have to climb over the mountain of insomnia to get to sleep. You don't have to fight the barrier. You can just be like the electron. You can simply soften, become a wave, and slip through the wall. You are 99.99% empty space, after all. If we took away the empty space from inside your atoms, the entire human race, all 8 billion of us, would fit inside the volume of a single sugar cube. All the rest is just fields of energy and silence. You are mostly silence, and in that silence, strange and beautiful things happen. As we continue our journey, we are going to look at the darkest material ever created by human hands. A darkness so complete it looks like a hole in the universe. But before we touch the void, let's take a moment to settle into the knowledge that nothing is quite what it seems. The gold is red, the glass is flowing, the walls are permeable, and you are a collection of stardust, held together by soft vibrations, drifting on a raft of empty space. If you are listening to this and you feel your eyelids getting heavy, that is just your body synchronizing with the slow, nanometer per second growth of the night. It is a natural rhythm. There is no rush to get to the next dream. The dream is already forming around you. weaving itself out of the invisible threads of the air. In the next part of our journey, we will wrap ourselves in the thinnest blanket ever discovered, a sheet of carbon only 1 atom thick, and we will stare into the a color so dark it makes shadows look bright. We will discover how scientists have mimicked the gecko's foot to walk on ceilings, and how spider silk is stronger than steel. But for now, just drift in the red glow of the nano gold. Feel the slow flow of the glass. Let the nanometers tick by. 1, 2, 3. You are safe in the invisible world from the concept of empty space. Let us drift deeper into the concept of quiet. When you close your eyes, you see darkness. But the darkness behind your eyelids is not truly black. It is often a dark grey or a mottled swirling of phosphenes. Those little vague splashes of color that the nervous system creates when it is resting. Even the night sky is not truly black. It is filled with the scattering of starlight and the glow of the moon. But in the strange laboratories of the nano world, scientists have cooked up a recipe for absolute nothingness. They have created a material that is the visual equivalent of silence. It is called vantablack. The name itself sounds like a spell from an old book, but it stands for vertically aligned nanotube array. It sounds technical, but the reality is much more poetic. Imagine a forest, a very peculiar, infinite forest. In a normal forest, the trees have branches and leaves, and there is space between the trunks for light to dance and filter through dot. Now, imagine a forest of carbon. In this forest, the trees are not wood. They are hollow tubes of carbon atoms, rolled up like tiny scrolls. These trees are exceptionally tall for their width, and they are packed together so tightly that 1 billion of them could fit on a square centimeter of your pillowcase. They stand shoulder to shoulder, a dense, swaying crowd of darkness. When a particle of light, a photon, flies into this nanoforest, it expects to bounce off, just like it bounces off a mirror or a white wall. But vantablack is a trap. The trees are spaced in such a way that the light can get in, but it cannot get out. The photon bounces from one carbon tube to another, deeper and deeper into the forest, losing a little bit of energy with every bounce. It wanders through the hollow trunks, searching for an exit, until finally, it simply runs out of breath. It stops. The light is absorbed. It absorbs 99.965% of all light. If you were to paint a crumpled piece of aluminum foil with vantablack, the wrinkles would disappear. Your brain, which relies on light and shadow to understand the shape of things, would panic for a split second and then simply accept the impossible, that there is a hole in reality. It looks like a 2D cutout, a flat, endless abyss. But do not be afraid of this abyss. Think of it as the ultimate shade. In a world that is constantly flashing with screens, and neon signs, and headlights, vantablack is the ultimate rest for the eyes. It is a place where vision stops, so that imagination can begin. Imagine wrapping yourself in a blanket made of this material. It is the darkest blanket in the universe. Beneath it, there are no distractions. There is no glimmer of the street lamp outside your window. There is no blinking LED from the television. There is only a soft, warm cocoon. Because, and here is a cozy fact, when that light gets trapped in the carbon forest, it transforms. The energy of the light is converted into heat, a tiny, imperceptible warmth. So, the darkness is not cold. The darkness is warm. It holds you. It absorbs the noise of the visible world and transmutes it into a gentle, thermal hug. You are floating in this warm void, perfectly safe, perfectly hidden. And as you float there, you realize that you need something to rest upon. You cannot float forever. You need a hammock. And for that, nature offers us the miracle of graphene. Graphene is the cousin of van. They are both made of the same mother element, carbon. Carbon is the Lego brick of the universe. It can build almost anything. But while Vantablack is a complex forest, graphene is beautifully, elegantly simple. For centuries, graphene was hiding in plain sight. It was hiding in the pencil box of every schoolchild. When you write with a pencil, the lead is actually graphite. Layers and layers of carbon sheets stacked on top of each other like a deck of slippery cards. When you drag the pencil across the paper, you are sliding those sheets off, leaving them behind as a gray trail. Scientists knew these sheets existed, but they couldn't separate them. They wanted to get down to a single, solitary layer, a sheet of carbon only one atom thick. They used lasers. They used chemicals. They used high-tech polishing machines. Nothing worked. Then, in 2004, two physicists at the University of Manchester did something delightfully ridiculous. They took a roll of regular, sticky Scotch tape. They stuck it onto a piece of graphite and peeled it off. Then they folded the tape and peeled it again, and again, and again, like a child playing with a sticker. They kept peeling until there was almost nothing left. And there, clinging to the adhesive, was the holy grail of materials science, graphene. It is the thinnest material in the universe. It is a true two-dimensional object. It has width and length, but effectively zero height. If a sheet of cling film were the thickness of graphene, you would need to stack enough cling film to reach the moon to equal the thickness of a single piece of paper. It is a ghost material. You can look right through it, and yet it is there. And here is the sleepy paradox. This invisible, ghost-like sheet is the strongest material ever discovered. It is 200 times stronger than steel. Imagine a hammock made of a single sheet of graphene. It is completely transparent. It looks like you are hovering in midair. The mesh of this hammock is not made of rope, but of carbon atoms holding hands in a perfect honeycomb pattern, hexagon after hexagon, stitched together by the strongest chemical bonds in nature. This hammock is so thin it is invisible, yet it is so strong that if a cat were to walk across it, the cat would not fall through. The scientists say that if you had a sheet of graphene the thickness of plastic wrap, an elephant could stand on it, balanced on a pencil, and it would not break. Picture yourself lying in that hammock now. It is strung between two stars in the velvet darkness of the Vantablack sky. The hammock conforms perfectly to your body because it is only one atom thick. It offers no resistance, no pressure points. It is like resting on the surface tension of water, but without the wetness. You are supported by the invisible. You are held up by the strong silent bonds of the universe as you sway gently in this invisible hammock, suspended in the warm dark. Perhaps you are listening to this from your own bed in a bustling city, or a quiet room in the countryside. Maybe you are curled up on a sofa. Wherever you are in this vast world, you are part of this atomic dance. If you are enjoying this drift into the microscopic, please consider subscribing to Somnus Sleepy Science. It helps us weave more of these stories for you. And if you have a moment, whispered softly into the comments below, tell us where you are resting tonight. Are you under a heavy quilt? Are you near a window? Let your location be a sleepy signal to others that we are all resting together, but do not stir to do it now. Just let the thought pass like a cloud. Focus back on the hammock. Feel the strength of the graphene. It is fascinating that something so strong comes from something so soft as pencil lead. It reminds us that strength doesn't always look like iron or stone. Sometimes strength is flexible. Sometimes strength is transparent. The carbon atoms in the graphene are buzzing slightly. All atoms vibrate. It is called thermal motion, but in this lattice, the vibration is a lullaby. It is a low, steady hum that resonates with the frequency of your own breathing. Let's synchronize with it. Inhale, imagining the air filling your lungs is made of tiny, glowing spheres. Exhale, letting your body sink deeper into the invisible mesh. Inhale, drawing in the quiet of the Vanta black. Exhale, releasing any tension, letting it slide off you like water off a duck's back. There is another strange quality to this nano world. When things get this small, they get sticky. Not sticky like honey or glue, but sticky like magnetism. It is called the van der Waals force. It is a weak electric attraction between molecules. When you lie on the graphene hammock, you are not just resting on it. At a molecular level, you are slightly attracted to it. The atoms of your skin and the atoms of the hammock are greeting each other. They are exchanging a very faint, very polite electrical handshake. This force keeps you grounded. It ensures you won't float away into the void. You are stuck in the most pleasant way possible, tethered to your rest. In the next part of our journey, we are going to look at how nature mastered this stickiness long before humans discovered it. We will meet a lizard that can walk on glass ceilings, and we will examine the silk of a spider that is, believe it or not, a liquid crystal similar to the screen of the phone you might have just put down. We will learn how the natural world is the original nanotechnologist, building masterpieces of engineering while we were still learning to make fire. But for now, stay in the hammock. The strongest material in the world has got you. The darkest material in the world is shielding you. There is nothing to see. There is nothing to do. There is only the suspension, the sensation of weightlessness, the feeling of being held by a single layer of atoms, drifting, swaying, existing. In the gap between the light and the dark, can you feel the honeycomb pattern beneath you? Can you feel the warmth of the black forest around you? Rest here for a moment. The atoms are timeless, and so is this night. We are still swaying gently, suspended in the concept of that invisible force, the van der Waals force. It is a strange name for a simple feeling, the desire of atoms to be near one another. It is the molecular equivalent of a hug. Now, let your imagination drift away from the laboratory and the graphene sheets and float out into a warm, tropical night. The air is humid and smells of rain on hot stone. You are lying on a wooden porch, looking up at the ceiling beams. Above you, moving with a silent, hypnotic grace, is a small creature. A gecko. It is upside down. Gravity is pulling at its small green body, demanding that it fall, but the gecko ignores gravity. It scuttles across the smooth varnish of the wood, pauses, and then hangs there, perfectly still, defying the laws of the big world. For a long time, scientists thought geckos used glue. They thought their toes must secrete some kind of sticky slime or resin. But if you were to touch a gecko's foot, it is completely dry. It is soft, like velvet. There is no glue. There is no suction cup, so how does it hold on? Let us shrink down again, smaller than a gnat, and fly up to inspect the toes of this sleeping lizard. As we approach the pad of the gecko's toe, the landscape changes. It looks like a dense, lush carpet. These are millions of microscopic hairs called cells. They are arranged in perfect rows, rippling like a field of wheat in the wind. But we must go deeper. We must go smaller. If we zoom in on a single one of those hairs, we see something incredible. The tip of the hair doesn't just end, it splits. It branches out like a tiny broccoli floret, dividing into hundreds of even smaller strands called spatulae. These tips are so small, only a few hundred nanometers wide, that they can get intimate with the very atomic structure of the wall. Because they are so small and so numerous, they can touch the surface at almost every point. A single gecko foot has about 1 billion of these split ends touching the wall, and here is where the magic returns. Because they are so close, the van der Waals force takes over. The electrons in the gecko's hair and the electrons in the wooden ceiling start to dance together. They create a temporary bond, a ghostly attraction that is incredibly strong when multiplied by 1 billion. The gecko is not gripping the ceiling with muscles. It is not holding on with claws. It is simply blending. It is becoming one with the surface it walks on. Imagine having that ability. Imagine if you could place your hand on a wall and feel that level of connection, where the boundary between your skin and the cool plaster dissolves, and for a moment, you are anchored by the fundamental forces of the universe. The gecko moves by curling and uncurling its toes, peeling this bond off like a piece of tape, then placing it down again. Peel, stick, peel, stick. It is a silent rhythm, a rhythm of attachment and detachment, holding on and letting go. This is a lesson from the nano world. You do not need to use force to be strong. You do not need to clench your fists or grit your teeth to hold your ground. You simply need to increase your contact area. You simply need to get closer, to soften, to let your own nano hairs, your attention, your breath, settle into the texture of the moment. The gecko hangs there, dreaming its own lizard dreams, safe in the knowledge that physics will not let it fall. As we leave the gecko on its porch, we drift further into the garden. The moon is rising now, casting silver light over the bushes and trees. Between the branches of an old oak tree, there is a glimmer, a spiral of silver thread wet with dew, shivering slightly in the breeze. A spiderweb. We often brush these away without thinking, but tonight, let us look closer. The creature sitting in the center, the master weaver, is one of nature's greatest chemists. She is doing something that our best human scientists struggle to replicate in billion-dollar factories. She is turning liquid into solid. Instantly, inside the spider's body, the silk is a liquid. It is a thick, protein-rich soup called dope. It flows like honey. But as she pulls it out through her spinneret's tiny biological nozzles, she shears it. She stretches it. And in that fraction of a second, the proteins in the liquid snap into alignment. They transform from a disorganized soup into a crystal. Spider silk is a If we could look inside that single, fragile thread, we would see a structure that looks like a string of pearls. The pearls are tiny, hard crystals, nano. They are stacked sheets of protein, rigid and unyielding. They give the silk its strength. These crystals are harder than steel, but connecting these pearls are long, tangled, spaghetti-like chains of soft, stretchy protein. This is the rubber. This gives the silk its elasticity. It is the perfect balance, the yin and yang of materials. The hard crystals prevent the thread from snapping under weight, and the soft chains allow it to stretch and absorb the energy of the wind or a struggling fly. When a fly hits the web, The silk doesn't bounce it back like a trampoline. That would catapult the dinner away. Instead, the nanostructure of the silk actually absorbs the energy. It dampens the blow. The thread stretches, the soft chains uncoil, and the energy is converted, once again, into a tiny amount of heat. The web catches the world with a soft embrace, not a hard wall. Think about the material called Kevlar, which we use for bulletproof vests. It is heavy, thick, and rigid. Spider silk, pound for pound, is tougher than Kevlar, and yet it is biodegradable. It is made of water and dead flies. It is born from nature and returns to nature, leaving no trace. There is a beautiful soundscape to this, too, if your ears were small enough to hear it. A spider web is not just a trap. It is an instrument. It is tuned like a violin string. The spider, sitting in the center, has terrible eyesight. She sees the world through vibrations. She rests her legs on the radial threads, the spokes of the wheel, and she listens. When the wind blows, the web hums a low, steady drone. When a dewdrop falls, it creates a sharp ping. When a moth flutters nearby, the air pressure changes the tune of the silk. The spider lives in a world of symphonies. She can tighten a thread to change the pitch, tuning her home to the frequency of the night. Imagine you are that spider for a moment. Not the scary creature of movies, but a small, patient architect. You are sitting in the center of a masterpiece you built yourself. You are connected to everything around you by silver telephone wires. You can feel the heartbeat of the forest through your legs. You are suspended in the air, held up by a material that is stronger than steel but lighter than cotton. The web sways, back and forth, back and forth. It is a cradle. If we were to weave a hammock out of spider silk, focusing on the dragline silk, which is the strongest type, a rope as thick as a pencil could stop a Boeing 747 in mid-flight. That is the power hidden in the microscopic. But we don't need to stop airplanes. We just need to stop the racing mind. Let the image of the web comfort you. It represents the ability to handle whatever comes. If stress hits the web stretches, it adapts. The soft chains extend, the hard crystals hold firm, and the structure survives. You have that same resilience built into your own biology. Your cells are filled with cytoskeletons, tiny scaffolds that mimic this balance of hard and soft. You are built to stretch. You are built to weather the storm and glisten in the morning dew. The garden is quiet now. The gecko is secure on the ceiling. The spider is resting on her silk. The air is filled with the scent of jasmine and damp earth, and as the moonlight filters through the leaves, you notice something strange about the color of the blue butterfly resting on the leaf nearby. It is glowing with an iridescent, metallic blue that seems to shift as the wind moves the leaf. But here is the secret. The butterfly has no blue pigment. If you ground up its wings, you would get a brown powder. The blue is a lie. A beautiful, shimmering lie of geometry. In the next part of our journey, we will dissolve the illusion of color. We will learn how nature paints with light instead of ink, and why the lotus leaf never, ever gets dirty. Keeping itself pure, white, in the muddiest of waters, we will drift into the world of structural color and the lotus effect. But for now, stay in the garden. Feel the imaginary velvet of the gecko's grip on your mind, holding you securely to the present moment. Feel the gentle sway of the silk hammock. The night is strong. The night is flexible, and you are woven into it. We are resting in the moonlit garden, surrounded by the invisible strength of spider silk and the silent grip of the gecko. The air is cool, and a soft breeze rustles the leaves. On a branch near your resting place, a morpher butterfly has folded its wings, blending into the shadows. But as the moonbeams touch it, the wings flash a brilliant electric blue, a color so vivid it seems to hum. It feels magical, like a fairy tale. But in the Nanoverse, magic is just engineering we haven't explained yet. This blue is not like the blue of your jeans or the blue of a painted wall. Those things are blue because they contain chemicals, dyes, or pigments that absorb every color except blue. Over time, those chemicals fade. Your jeans get lighter, the paint peels, but the butterfly's blue will never fade. A morpher butterfly specimen collected in the 1800s is just as bright today as the day it was caught. Why? Because the butterfly isn't using paint. It is using architecture. Let's shrink down again, becoming smaller than a speck of pollen, and land on the surface of that wing to the naked eye. The wing looks like a smooth, velvety petal, but under our microscopic gaze, it transforms into a vast, tiled roof. The wing is covered in millions of tiny scales, overlapping like shingles on a house. We go deeper. We dive into a single scale. Suddenly, we are standing in a forest of Christmas trees. The surface of the scale is covered in ridges, and each ridge is shaped like a tiny pine tree made of chitin, the same material as a crab's shell. These trees are arranged in perfect, parallel rows. The branches of these nanotrees are spaced exactly, and I mean exactly, at a specific distance apart. This distance is the key. It matches the wavelength of blue light. When sunlight hits these trees, it gets confused. The light waves bounce off the top branches, and they bounce off the lower branches. As the waves reflect back up, they crash into each other. It is a traffic jam of light. For red light and yellow light and green light, the waves cancel each other out. They destroy each other in a phenomenon called destructive interference. They simply disappear. But for the blue light, the blue light fits perfectly. The waves line up. They stack on top of each other, boosting the signal, making it stronger and brighter. It is constructive interference. The wing is not colored blue. It is singing blue. It is taking the white noise of the sun and filtering it until only the pure blue note remains. This is called structural color. It is color made of shape. It is color made of geometry. Think of how peaceful that is. The butterfly doesn't have to work to be beautiful. It doesn't have to produce chemicals or dyes. It just is. Its very structure, the way it is built at the most fundamental level, naturally rejects the dull colors and amplifies the brilliant ones. Imagine if you could do that with your thoughts. Imagine if the structure of your mind was built like the butterfly's wing. You could let the worries, the red and yellow noise of the day, cancel each other out. They would bounce around and simply fade away. And only the calm, the blue clarity of sleep, would be amplified. You don't need to force the calm. You just need to arrange your inner architecture to let it resonate, just as the blue light resonates, shimmering in the dark dot. Now, let your gaze drift down from the branch to the pond below. The water is dark and still, reflecting the moon. Floating on the surface are large, round lotus leaves. The lotus is a symbol of purity in many cultures. It grows in the muddiest, murkiest water, yet its leaves are always spotless. They are always dry. They look like they have just been polished for centuries. Poets thought the lotus had a special spiritual energy that repelled dirt. But the truth is even better. The lotus has a special nano landscape. If we were to slide off the butterfly wing and parachute down onto the lotus leaf, we would not land on a flat, green surface. We would land on a bed of nails. The surface of the lotus leaf is covered in microscopic bumps, billions of them. And on top of those bumps are even smaller, hair-like tubes made of wax. It is a rugged, mountainous terrain at the nanoscale. Now, imagine a raindrop falling from the sky. To us, a raindrop looks like a liquid. But to the lotus leaf, a raindrop is a giant, heavy balloon. When the drop hits the leaf, it can't flatten out. The bed of nano nails holds it up. The water sits on the tips of the bumps, hovering on a layer of trapped air. It is like a fakir lying on a bed of nails, perfectly balanced. Because the water barely touches the leaf, it curls up into a perfect sphere, a shimmering pearl of water. Then gravity tilts the leaf slightly. The pearl rolls. As it rolls, it acts like a vacuum cleaner. Dirt, particles, dust, and bacteria are sitting precariously on the tips of the nano bumps, just like the water. They are barely holding on. When the water pearl rolls past, it grabs the dirt. The dirt sticks to the water much better than it sticks to the waxy leaf. Swish, the water rolls off the edge of the leaf, taking all the mud with it. This is the lotus effect. It is a self-cleaning mechanism. The leaf doesn't scrub itself. It doesn't use soap. It uses the roughness of its own surface to stay clean. There is a profound lesson here for sleep. Sometimes we try to scrub our minds clean. We try to fix our thoughts, to wipe away the stress. But the lotus teaches us a gentler way. Be like the leaf. Create a little distance between you and the mud of the day. Don't let the worries flatten out and stick to you. Keep them on the surface, suspended on the tips of your awareness. Let them bead up. Let them form into little spheres of contained concern. And then let the natural tilt of your relaxation, the gravity of sleep, simply roll them away. Watch them roll off the edge of your mind, one by one. A bead of worry about tomorrow rolls away. A bead of regret about yesterday rolls away. A speck of tension in your shoulder, picked up by the water and gone. The leaf remains, pristine, dry, unaffected. You are the leaf. The thoughts are just water. They are passing through. They cannot wet you. They cannot stain you. As the imaginary water pearls splash silently into the pond below, the ripples spread out, wider and wider, until they smooth out into glass again. The garden is full of these invisible workers, the butterfly filtering light, the lotus repelling water, the gecko holding on, the spider absorbing impact. But there are also workers inside of you. Right now, while you lie there, perfectly still, there is a bustling metropolis inside your veins. You are not just a single being. You are a galaxy of cells. And within that galaxy, there are tiny machines, biological nanobots, that are working to keep you safe. In the next part of our journey, we are going to turn our gaze inward. We will meet the walking proteins that carry cargo along the highways of your cells. We will learn about the doctors of the future, man-made nanobots that can swim through your bloodstream to heal a single scratch. We will discover that even when you are doing absolutely nothing, your body is performing a miracle of maintenance. You don't have to drive the car. You don't have to steer the ship. You are the passenger. The crew is already at work. Feel the bed beneath you. It is your vessel. Feel the blanket. It is your shield. Feel the air. It is your fuel. Let the structural blue of the dream wash over you. Let the lotus leaf of your mind clear itself, drifting, cleaning, resting. We have drifted far from the surface of the world. We have floated on the wind with the spider, walked on the ceiling with the gecko, and rested on the purity of the lotus leaf. But now, the journey turns inward. It is time to leave the moonlit garden and dive into an even deeper, warmer river. This river is inside you. Imagine, just for a moment, that we can shrink down even further. Smaller than the butterfly's wing scale, smaller than the dust on the lotus leaf. We are becoming microscopic explorers, encased in a bubble of soft light. Diving into the bloodstream, it does not look like biology down here. It looks like a galaxy. The fluid around us is a warm golden amber. The plasma, it flows with a gentle, rhythmic pulsing, echoing the slow beat of your resting heart. Thump thump, swish, thump thump, swish. Floating past us are the red blood cells. They look like rubber rafts, or perhaps like soft, red donuts with the centers pressed in. They are crowding together, bumping gently into one another, carrying oxygen like precious cargo to the far reaches of your toes and fingertips. And amidst this river of life, scientists are dreaming of and beginning to build a new kind of traveler. The medical nanobot. Now, the word robot might make you think of metal and gears and cold, ticking machinery. But in the nano world, a robot is nothing like that. These are not machines of steel. They are machines of biology, folded out of DNA or constructed from soft polymers. They are more like tiny, intelligent jellyfish than mechanical droids. Imagine a fleet of these tiny healers swimming through your veins. They are smaller than a single blood cell. They are the size of a virus, but they carry a cure instead of a cold. Picture one of them now. It looks like a tiny capsule, smooth and spherical. It is designed to be a smart delivery system. In the old days of medicine, if you had a headache, you took a pill, and the medicine went everywhere. To your stomach, your elbows, your knees, flooding your whole body just to reach one spot. It was like watering an entire garden just to quench the thirst of a single flower. But the nanobot is different. It is a master of navigation. It drifts along the current of the plasma, tumbling gently. It is sleeping, dormant, waiting for a signal. Its outer shell is coated with special sensors, nanonoses, if you will, that are sniffing for a specific chemical signature. Maybe it is looking for a tired muscle cell. Maybe it is looking for a scratch on a vessel wall. It drifts past the liver. It drifts past the lungs. It ignores them. They are healthy. They are fine. Then it finds the target. A small area of inflammation. A tiny distress signal sending out chemical flares. The nanobot wakes up. It extends tiny molecular anchors to slow itself down, latching onto the vessel wall like a ship dropping anchor in a harbor. It stops. It opens its cargo bay. Out flows a microscopic dose of medicine. Not a flood, but a whisper of healing. Just enough to fix the problem. The medicine is absorbed instantly. The inflammation soothes. The distress signal stops, and the nanobot, it simply dissolves. It is biodegradable. It turns into harmless water and sugar and washes away, leaving nothing behind but health. Think of how comforting that is. The idea that healing can be precise. The idea that you don't need to overwhelm your system to feel better. You just need the tiniest, most targeted touch of care. Even as you lie here, your body has its own natural versions of these bots. Your white blood cells, your enzymes, patrolling the rivers of your veins. They are the silent guardians. They are the night watchmen, They are walking the beat while the city of your mind shuts down. You do not need to supervise them. You do not need to tell them where to go. They know you are being taken care of from the inside out now. Let us float out of the body, rising up through the skin, back into the cool air, and look at the world we have built. Look at the walls of your room. Look at the concrete of the city sidewalks outside. We think of concrete as dead stone, cold, hard, unchanging. If it cracks, it stays cracked. If it breaks, it stays broken. But nanotechnology is breathing life into the very stones we walk on. Scientists have created something that sounds like it belongs in a fantasy. Novel, self-healing, concrete. Imagine a bridge stretching over a quiet river. It is made of this special grey stone. Deep inside the concrete, hidden in the dark, microscopic pockets are tiny capsules. And inside those capsules are sleeping bacteria. These are not dangerous bacteria. They are ancient, helpful microbes that are found near volcanoes. They can sleep for hundreds of years. They are in a state of suspended animation, waiting for their moment to shine. Alongside them, in other tiny capsules, is a supply of starch, food for the sleepers. The bridge stands there for years. The sun beats down. The rain falls. The traffic rumbles. Slowly, a tiny crack forms. A hairline fracture, invisible to the human eye. Rainwater starts to seep into the crack. In normal concrete, this would be the beginning of the end. The water would rot the steel inside. But in this living concrete, the water is a wake-up call. As the water touches the nanocapsules, they dissolve. The bacteria wake up. They stretch. They realize they are wet, and they realize they are hungry. They find the starch nearby and begin to eat. And as they eat and multiply, they produce a waste product, limestone, pure white calcite, the same material that makes up seashells and cliffs. The bacteria are tiny stonemasons. They begin to fill the crack with limestone. They mix it, lay it down, and seal the gap. They work in the dark, in the silence of the stone, knitting the bridge back together from the inside. Within a few weeks, the crack is gone, sealed shut. The water can no longer get in. The bridge is whole again. And the bacteria, their job is done. They form spores, curl up into a ball, and go back to sleep. They return to the darkness, waiting for the next rain, waiting for the next crack. They are the eternal guardians of the stone. There is something so deeply restful about the idea of dormancy. These little creatures don't work all the time. They work only when they are needed. The rest of the time, they simply exist in a state of potential. They wait, they rest, they heal. And it's not just concrete. There are plastics now, self-healing, polymers that mimic the human skin. Imagine the screen of a phone or the coating on a pair of glasses. It is made of a network of long, chain-like molecules. If you scratch it, you break the chains. A gap forms, but in these new materials, the molecules are magnetic to each other. They yearn to be whole. Imagine a scratch appearing on a surface. It is a wound, but slowly, imperceptibly, the edges of the scratch begin to flow. It looks like a liquid, but it moves like a glacier. The molecules on one side of the canyon reach out to the molecules on the other side. "Come back," they whisper. "We belong together." They stretch across the gap. They find each other's hands. The chemical bonds snap back into place. Click, click, click. The scratch fills in. The surface becomes smooth again. It is as if the damage never happened. The material has a memory of what it was like to be whole, and it always returns to that state. This is the lesson of the self-healing world. Damage is not permanent. Cracks are not the end of the story. They are simply a signal to wake up the repair crew. Think about your own day. Maybe you feel a little cracked by stress. Maybe you feel worn down like the concrete bridge in the rain. Maybe your patience feels scratched. That is okay. You are a self-healing organism. Sleep is your water. Sleep is the rain that seeps into the cracks and wakes up your inner masons. When you drift off tonight, you are entering your own healing phase. The nanobots of your biology, the proteins, the cells, they are all waking up. They are moving to the places that hurt. They are smoothing out the rough edges of your mind. They are knitting together the frayed nerves. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to direct the traffic. You don't have to mix the limestone. You just have to provide the conditions. You just have to lie still. You just have to let the rain of sleep wash over you. The bridge doesn't worry about the crack. It trusts the bacteria. The skin doesn't worry about the scratch. It trusts the cells. You don't need to worry about tomorrow. Trust the sleep. Let us visualize that sealing process one more time. Visualize a crack in a smooth, grey stone. Watch as a soft, white light begins to fill it from the bottom up, rising, filling, smoothing, until the surface is perfect. Again, feel that sensation in your own body. A wave of relaxation filling the cracks in your energy, smoothing out the forehead, smoothing out the jaw, smoothing out the lower back. You are becoming whole. You are returning to your factory settings, calm, rested, and ready. But the body is not just a construction site. It is also a library, a massive, ancient archive of information. And in the next part of our journey, we are going to look at the smallest, most dense storage device in the universe. We are going to talk about DNA, not as a biology lesson, but as a book that contains the history of everything. Written in a language of only 4 letters, we will watch the motor proteins, the Kinesin, the tiny postal workers that are literally walking, step by step, along the tight ropes inside your cells right now, carrying your dreams on their backs. The city inside you is busy so that you can be still. The bridge is healing so you can cross it. The river is flowing so you can float, drift along the current, past the sleeping bacteria, past the silent nanobot. You are safe in the hands of the very small dot. We have witnessed the healing of the stone and the mending of the skin. We have seen how the nanobots of nature repair the cracks in the bridge while the world sleeps. But now, we must leave the surface entirely. We must go deeper than we have ever gone before. We must travel into the sanctuary, into the very center of the city that is you. Imagine we are floating through the warm, amber fluid of the cell once again. The current here is gentle, like the slow movement of a deep ocean tide. Ahead of us looms a massive, spherical structure, glowing with a soft, pulsing light. It is the nucleus. It is the library of the cell. If you were to walk into a human library, you would see shelves lining the walls, books stacked to the ceiling, perhaps the smell of old paper and dust. But the library inside you is built differently. It is built on the principle of the infinite fold. Inside this nucleus, protected by a double-layered membrane wall, is the most dense information storage system in the known universe. It is your DNA. We often hear about DNA in science class or on the news, but tonight, let's look at it simply as a physical object. If we were to take the DNA from just one of your cells, just one tiny microscopic cell, and stretch it out in a straight line, it would be 2 meters long. That is taller than most humans. Now, imagine taking a thread that is 2 meters long and trying to fit it into a box that is 1 million times smaller than a grain of sand. How is it possible? It is the ultimate origami. The DNA is not just stuffed in there. It is coiled. It is wrapped around tiny spools called his, and those spools are wrapped around other spools, and those coils are twisted into even tighter coils, forming the dense, silent shapes of chromosomes. It is a hug so tight, so organized, that it borders on the miraculous. But the true wonder is not the shape. It is the capacity. In our big world, we have massive data centers, giant, air-conditioned warehouses filled with humming servers, blinking blue light, and cooling fans, storing the internet. They consume rivers of electricity. They take up acres of land, but nature has a better way. If we could format all the data in the entire world right now, every photo on Instagram, every video on YouTube, every email ever sent, every movie ever made, every song ever sung, and encode it into DNA, that entire mountain of human history would fit inside a single teaspoon. Shutterstock, think about that for a moment. A single teaspoon. A teaspoon of DNA could hold the sum total of human knowledge. It sits there in the wet, warm, dark, perfectly stable. Digital hard drives rot, CDs scratch, books burn, but DNA has survived for billions of years. It is the ultimate backup. There is a profound comfort in this. We often feel like we have to hold on to things. We worry about forgetting. We worry about losing our memories, our identity, our to-do lists. We feel the weight of information pressing down on our minds. But deep inside you, in the quiet library of the nucleus, everything is already written down. The instructions for how to be you are safely stored. You don't need to remember how to make your heart beat. You don't need to remember how to grow your hair. You don't need to remember how to breathe. It is all there, folded into the spiral, tucked away in the library. The librarian is on duty. The archives are safe. You can let your conscious mind, that busy, noisy part of your brain, simply clock out. You can hand over the keys to the silent intelligence that manages the library. Let go. The story is written. The book is safe. As we float away from the glowing library of the nucleus, we turn around to face the rest of the cell, and we realize something shocking. The cell is not just a bag of soup. It is a landscape. It has architecture, stretching out in every direction, crisscrossing the darkness like the cables of a suspension bridge or the steel beams of a skyscraper, is the cytoskeleton. These are the microtubules. They look like long hollow pipes made of glass, shimmering faintly in the dark. They are the highways of the cell, and they are busy. If you listen closely to the silence, you might hear a rhythmic thrumming, thump, thump, emerging from the fog. Walking along one of these glass highways is a creature that will steal your heart. It is a motor protein. Its name is Kinesin. To describe Kinesin, I want you to imagine a tiny person, but this person is all legs. It has no head, no eyes, just a stalk for a body and 2 perfectly formed feet at the bottom. And it is walking. It is not sliding. It is not floating. It is literally taking steps. One foot swings forward and latches onto the microtubule. Then the back foot lifts up, swings over the front foot, and latches down. Left foot, right foot, left foot, right foot. It looks exactly like a human walking on a tightrope across a vast canyon. But what is truly incredible is what this tiny walker is carrying. Tethered to the top of its stalk is a giant sphere, a vesicle. This sphere is hundreds of times larger than the Kinesin itself. It looks like a person carrying a massive balloon or a giant bubble filled with water on their shoulders. Inside that bubble is precious cargo. It might be carrying proteins to repair a cell wall. It might be carrying neurotransmitters, the very chemicals that create your dreams or your feelings of happiness. Down the long axon of a nerve cell to your spine, the Kinesin is the postal worker of your body. It is the Sherpa of the soul, and it never stops. Right now, in the nerves of your toes, in the muscles of your back, in the center of your brain, billions of these tiny walkers are marching. Step, step, step. They move at a pace of about 100 steps per second. But in our slow motion sleep time, we can watch them move with the grace of a Tai Chi master. Watch the back foot lift. See it arc through the fluid. Watch it place gently down on the track. Click, it locks in. Then, the next foot. It is a movement powered by pure chemistry. Every time it takes a step, it burns a tiny spark of fuel called ATP. It is sipping the energy of the soup around it to keep moving. There is a heroic solitude to the Kinesin. It walks alone on its thread in the dark. It doesn't know the big picture. It doesn't know that it is part of a human being who has a job and a family and worries. It just knows the step. It just knows the cargo. It is single-minded. It is devoted. Sometimes the road gets blocked. A tangle of proteins might be in the way. Does the Kinesin panic? No, it simply pauses. It waits, or it steps sideways, or it detaches and floats for a moment before grabbing a new track. It is infinitely patient. Ada Sinue, India Picturee, want you to imagine that you can hand your heavy burdens to the Kinesin. What are you carrying tonight? Is it a worry about the future? That is a heavy bubble. Is it a regret from the past? That is a large load. Imagine taking that worry, wrapping it in a soft, shimmering bubble, and gently placing it on the shoulders of one of these tiny walkers. Here, you whisper. You carry this for a while. The Kinesin accepts it. It was built for this. It adjusts its stance. It grips the tightrope, and it begins to walk away from you. Watch it go. Step, step, step. Watch the bubble of your worry bobbing up and down with the rhythm of the walk. It gets smaller and smaller as it marches down the microtubule highway. It is disappearing into the mist of the cell. It is being taken to the recycling center. It is being taken to the place where things are processed and dissolved. You don't have to carry it anymore. The Kinesin has it. There are billions of them. You can hand over every single worry you have. There is always another walker ready to take the load. Feel the lightness spreading through your shoulders as the weight is lifted. Feel the relief in your chest. You are not the mule. You are the universe in which the mule walks. The rhythm of the Kinesin is the rhythm of life. It is the same rhythm as the ticking clock, the same rhythm as the ocean waves, the same rhythm as your breath. Inhale, the foot lifts. Exhale, the foot lands. Inhale, exhale. The interior of the cell is a busy place, but it is a silent busyness. It is the productivity of a forest growing. It is the efficiency of the stars moving. There is no shouting. There is no honking of horns. There is only the flow. As we watch the Kinesin fade into the distance, carrying the last of your tension away, we begin to wonder about the stuff these things are made of. The DNA, the library, the water, the gold, the gecko. What is it all made of? If we break it down, past the molecules, past the atoms, what do we find? We find dust. But not just any dust. We find the ashes of ancient fires. We find the remnants of ghosts that lived billions of years ago. You see, the carbon in the Kinesin's feet did not start here on Earth. The oxygen in the water bubble did not begin in the ocean. In the next part of our journey, we are going to leave the microscopic world of the cell and zoom out to the telescopic world of the cosmos, only to realize they are the exact same thing. We are going to discover that you are, quite literally, a museum of cosmic history. We will talk about carbon nanodust in the void of space. We will hold a piece of aerogel, the solid smoke, and we will realize that the dark, empty space inside your atoms is the same as the dark, empty space between the stars. But for now, stay with the walker. Step, step, step. You are lighter now. The library is safe. The cargo is moving. You can rest. We have watched the tiny walker fade into the mist of the cell. We have left our heavy bags in its capable hands. Now, we are lighter than air. We are so light that gravity can no longer hold us down. Let us float up. Imagine rising slowly from your bed. You pass through the ceiling as if it were made of mist. You rise above the roof of your house, above the sleeping trees, above the clouds. The city lights below turn into a glittering grid of gold and amber, looking very much like a circuit board, or perhaps a vast colony of bioluminescent bacteria. We go higher. The air gets thinner. The blue of the sky deepens into indigo, and then into the velvety black of space. We are often told that space is a vacuum, a void, empty. But tonight, with our nanovision, we see the truth. Space is not empty. It is dusty, but this is not the grey, fuzzy dust you find under your sofa. This is cosmic nanodust, floating all around us, twinkling in the light of distant stars, our diamonds. Not the big, heavy rocks we put on rings, but nano diamonds, crystals so small that thousands of them could fit on the head of a pin. They are born in the violent, beautiful explosions of dying stars. When a supernova erupts, it doesn't just destroy. It creates. It fuses carbon atoms together under unimaginable pressure, creating a rain of microscopic jewels that drifts across the galaxy for eons. And there are other shapes. 2 buckyballs, tiny soccer balls made of carbon atoms. C60, they are the most stable structures in the universe. They are floating here, rolling through the silence. Now, look at your own hand in your imagination. Look at the skin, the veins, the structure, the carbon atoms that make up your hand, the carbon in the Kinesin walker, the carbon in the DNA library. They are these same diamonds. Every single atom in your body that is heavier than hydrogen was cooked in the heart of a star that died billions of years ago. You are not just in the universe. You are the universe. You are a collection of ancient stardust that has come together for a brief moment to form a shape that can dream, feel the age of your atoms. You are not 30 years old, or 50, or 80. Your atoms are 13.8 billion years old. You are ancient. You are timeless. You have been floating in the dark long before you were born. And you will be part of the stars long after you are gone. There is no pressure to be someone when you realize you are already a galaxy as we float here in this diamond dust. Let us reach out and touch a material that acts as a bridge between the solid earth and the empty sky. It is a material created by humans, but it looks like it was stolen from a ghost. It is called Aerogel. Scientists call it frozen smoke. Imagine holding a block of it in your hand. It is pale, blue, translucent, and hazy, like a piece of the sky cut into a square. If you look at it, you feel like your eyes are playing tricks on you. It looks like a hologram, but if you touch it, it feels like styrofoam. No lighter. It feels like nothing. Aerogel is the lightest solid material in existence. It is 99.8% air. It is a skeleton of silica, glass, blown up with so much air that the glass structure is barely there. It is a foam of nanometers. If you were to drop a piece of aerogel onto a table, it wouldn't make a thud. It would make a sound like a crystal glass ringing in a distant room. Ting, because it is mostly nothing. It is the ultimate insulator. You could put a crayon on top of a block of aerogel and put a blowtorch underneath it. The bottom of the block would be glowing red hot, thousands of degrees, but the crayon on top wouldn't melt. The heat simply cannot find a path through the labyrinth of air pockets. It gets lost in the maze. NASA uses this frozen smoke to catch the stardust we talked about. They built giant mitts made of aerogel and flew them through the tail of a comet. The nanodust hit the aerogel, and instead of smashing, it slowed down gently, caught in the softest catcher's mitt in the universe. Want you to imagine that you are wrapped in a blanket of aerogel tonight. This blanket is light. It weighs nothing. You can't even feel it on your skin. It is the color of a pale morning sky, but it is the perfect insulator. It insulates you from the noise of the world. It insulates you from the heat of anger. It insulates you from the cold of worry. Nothing can get through to you. The chaos of the outside world hits the aerogel and gets lost in the billions of tiny nano pockets of air. It wanders around until it runs out of energy and falls asleep. Inside the blanket, you are in a perfect, temperate climate. Cool, but not cold. Warm, but not hot. Just still. You are floating in space, wrapped in frozen smoke, surrounded by a glitter of diamond dust. And as you float there, enjoying the sensation of absolute weightlessness, you begin to notice something profound about the space around you. We often fear emptiness. We think of nothing as a bad thing. We want to fill our lives with things, with noise, with activity. We are afraid of the silence. But in the Nanoverse, emptiness is not a lack of something. Emptiness is the canvas of everything. Consider the atom again. We learned in school that atoms are made of a nucleus in the middle and electrons flying around the outside. We see pictures of them looking like little solar systems. But those pictures are wrong. They are lies of scale. If the nucleus of an atom were the size of a marble sitting on the center line of a football stadium, the electrons would be tiny gnats buzzing around the very top row of the highest bleachers, and everything in between. The whole football field, the stands. It is empty. It is void. 99.9999999% of an atom is empty space. Since you are made of atoms, you are 99.9999999% empty space. If we were to suck all the empty space out of the atoms that make up the entire human race, all 8 billion people on Earth, and squish us down to just the solid matter, do you know how big we would be? we would fit inside the size of a sugar cube. Think about that. The cars, the buildings, the wars, the love stories, the history of 8 billion people, compressed into a sugar cube. Everything else is just space. So, when you feel empty or lightheaded as you fall asleep, do not fight it. You are simply feeling your true nature. You are not a solid, heavy object. You are a cloud of energy held together by a spacious silence. The bed you are lying on, mostly empty space. The floor, empty space. The planet, empty space. It is a vast, comforting lattice of nothingness, shimmering with the illusion of solidity. This means there are no walls. There are no barriers. There is nothing to bump into. There is only the drift. In the final part of our journey, we are going to let go of the last remaining anchor. We are going to stop analyzing. We are going to stop naming things. We are going to let the atoms drift apart just a little bit, dissolving into the great, soft, magnetic sleep of the universe. We will drift from the science into the silence. But for now, feel the stardust in your bones. Feel the aerogel on your skin. Feel the beautiful, spacious emptiness in your chest. You are a ghost made of diamonds, resting in a cloud of smoke. We are slowly descending now. We are drifting down from the diamond-dusted sky, floating through the layers of the atmosphere, passing through the roof and settling back into the quiet, familiar space of your room. But everything has changed. The room is no longer just a room. You now see it with the eyes of the Nanoverse. The air around you is not empty space. It is a rich, thick soup of nitrogen and oxygen molecules bouncing gently against one another. They are like billions of tiny, invisible balloons cushioning your descent. You are not falling. You are being supported by the density of the air. The sheets beneath you are not just fabric. They are landscapes of woven cotton fibers, looking like white rolling hills under the moonlight. They are soft, porous, and welcoming. And you are no longer just a tired person lying in a bed. You are a masterpiece of engineering. You are a galaxy of atoms. You are a library of history. You are a vessel of starlight. As we reach the end of our journey, it is time to turn off the machines. It is time to power down the laboratory. It is time to let the science fade into sleep. Let us do a final scan of this magnificent city that is your body. Shutting down the lights, district by district, focus on your feet. Think of the billions of cells in your toes, in your arches, in your heels. Think of the tiny Kinesin walkers we met earlier. They have been marching all day, carrying the weight of your movement. Send them a signal now, a chemical whisper. Rest. Imagine billions of tiny feet stopping at once. The cargo is set down. The tightropes stop vibrating. The motors cool down. Your feet feel heavy. They feel anchored to the bed, not by gravity, but by that sweet, sticky van der Waals force. They are merging with the sheets. Let them go. Move your attention up to your legs, to your knees, to your hips. Think of the muscles, those actin and myosin filaments that slide past each other to create tension. Right now, they are holding on tight. They are still ready to run. Tell them it is okay to uncouple. Slide apart. Visualize the fibers loosening, lengthening, turning from a tight rope into a slack, floating ribbon. Your legs are becoming liquid. They are becoming like the glass, flowing so slowly it looks like stillness. Sinking deeper, move to your hands. Your hands, which manipulate the world. Your hands, made of stardust carbon, uncurl your fingers. Let the empty space inside the atoms expand. If you are clutching the pillow or the blanket, let the grip soften. You don't need to hold on to anything. The graphene hammock is underneath you. The aerogel is around you. You are supported. Your hands are drifting away, floating in the warm current of the air. Move to your chest and your heart. Feel the rhythm, thump thump, thump thump. It is the only clock that matters. But even this clock can slow down. Imagine the red blood cells, those little rubber rafts, drifting lazily down the river. The current is slowing. The water is calm. There is no rush to get the oxygen anywhere. The city is asleep. Your breath becomes shallow and rhythmic. Inhale, expansion, exhale, dissolution, and finally, move to your head, to the mind, to the great library of the nucleus. The lights in the library are dimming. The librarian is closing the heavy, leather-bound book of the day. All the information, all the worries, all the lists, they are being folded up. Folded once, folded twice, coiled around the spools, wrapped tight into the silence of the chromatin. They are so small now. They are invisible. You couldn't read them even if you wanted to. The library doors are closing. Click, silence. Now there is nothing left to do. There is nothing left to learn. The facts are fading. The gold is no longer red. It is just a warm glow in the distance. The butterfly is no longer blue. It is just a shadow in the garden. The gecko is asleep on the wall. The spider is still. There is only the blur. The beautiful, soft blur of the quantum world. Where does your skin end? Where does the air begin? In the Nanoverse, there is no line. The atoms of your skin are exchanging energy with the atoms of the air. You are misting into the room. You are expanding. You are becoming the room. You are becoming the night. Feel the Brownian motion. It is the name for the random, gentle jiggling of particles in a fluid. It is a lullaby of physics. Every molecule in the room is gently nudging you, rocking you, nudge, 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 like a boat on a very calm lake. You are safe in the chaos. You are safe in the void. You are safe in the dark. 99.99% empty space. Peaceful, quiet, empty. Drift into that space. Float between the electrons. Tunnel through the wall of sleep. You are not solid. You are a wave. You are a frequency of rest. Good night, traveler of the small. Good night, child of the stars. Good night,